Alright guys, I told you as promised I would start making videos of the Casey Anthony trial, hit the main points of the case that's going on. I have two different notepads here. One has what is being said in actual court, the other is Casey reactions and so forth. Now I want to point out that I saw right before I started making this video that they were replaying when Casey first came into the courtroom. She was talking to Bozo, aka Jose Baez, and was smiling and everything's hunky-dory and this, that, and the next thing. Good for you, Casey. As the judge was reading the instructions, and this is, as soon as the jury gets in there, this is Casey's look. And she looks like she has ingrown horns. Kid you not. As the judge was reading instructions to the jury, Casey had a worried and mad look on her face. Well, let me tell you something, Casey. I'm going to give you a little piece of advice here. I know you probably won't see this, but maybe your attorney, Jose Baez, might. Let me give you a little piece of advice. Nobody cares if you look worried or mad, okay? Nobody cares about you. The only person that we care about in this case is Caylee Anthony. And that little mad look on your little face and everything, you know, you need to be looking in the mirror at yourself because you're the one who created all this mess. Nobody else. So the state starts their opening statements and whatnot. Then it was reported from in session that George Anthony had a Bible opened on his lap. And the first thing that the state said, this is about Caylee Anthony. She hit the nail on the head. You're darn right. This is about Caylee Anthony. Not only, she really broke it down very great in the beginning. She said that this is the state of Florida versus Casey Anthony case. And then she made sure she pointed out, but this is about the story of Caylee Anthony. Great job. I really, it really brought me to tears. Within the first few seconds of the state's opening statement, Casey's already crying. Boo-hoo! Get over it, witch! You're the one that caused this mess. You're guilty. We all know it. Now this is our first day for us being on Little Miss Caylee's side to see you burn. Next, I want to go to the state attorney says after a brief maternity leave, George and Cindy believed that she went back to work at Universal and believed that she was a hard-working, responsible, loving mother. Right. Really? And I love how the state points this out because they're basically pointing out how she lied to her family and lied to everybody else. So, and then the state also was breaking down events, a time frame of when they moved to Florida from, I believe it was Ohio, when Casey was 3. And Casey had this look on her face like, what is there to be mad about that? She's just stating that you moved from Ohio when you were 3 years old. Big deal. And then as the state's talking about how shaking, and Casey started shaking her head when the state says no one, only Casey, ever saw Caylee again after June 16th, 2008, when they left that house. Nobody but Casey knows where Caylee was. And, and then the waterworks comes again. Shaking her head, no. Give me a break. I so wish I could be there just to smack that look off her face. And then cell phone ping shows she did not leave the area that same day. The state was saying how they're going to prove that when Casey said she was leaving for work, her cell phone pinged in that same area, that she never left that area. Casey told parents on the 16th of June, 2008, that her and Caylee were going to stay the night at the babysitter's house. So that gets me to think, I was thinking about this. I'm like, she said they were going to spend the night at the babysitter's house? Was Caylee dead George said he saw her that day, but now I'm wondering why and where Casey Anthony was, because of the fact, or where all this, how quickly she killed Kaylee and whatnot, when all this, she never left the area. So that really gets me to think, it's like, wow, she must have killed her right after she left the house, or something. Or stuffed her in the trunk with duct tape over her mouth, and chloroform, and this and that, so she could go and... I don't want to be so vulgar as in to say this, but I'm going to. So she can go to Blockbuster with her boyfriend and get laid and party and this, that, and the next thing. Anyways, I'm just going to move on. But, then the state talks about when Cindy said, Jesus died when the car is brought back to the house. Cindy did say that. She is a nurse. She's been a nurse. So George has been in law enforcement. They know what decomposition smell is. At this point, Casey looks like she's thinking, damn people, damn kids, I just want my life of partying back. That's the impression I got. That's just my impression. Then the state is talking about Lee talking to Casey on July 15th, 2008. If you don't tell Cindy where Kaylee is, the cops will make you. Plain and simple. During recess, Casey is fine, and at this point they go ahead and take a recess. Then during the recess, Casey is fine and chit-chatting. Looks like she's holding back a smile when she's talking, because she was like this, and she was like this, and it looked like she wanted to smile, but she knew everybody around the world is watching. She knew the nation was watching. She knew we were watching her. Okay, so they come back from recess, and the state starts talking about how 911 operator wants to talk to Casey, and Casey gets on the phone and acts like nothing is wrong. That's what the state said. She's on the phone, she's talking, and she's, everything's okay. And you know what? The state attorney is right. And when they come back from recess, she's got this mad, sad look, shaking her head. No, that's not true. That's not true. I cared, kind of look. So the state goes on to read Casey's written statement to police on how she says June 9th. I loved how the prosecution really hit that home and kept saying June 9th. She's lying. June 9th is the last time she saw her daughter. When we all know that this is not the truth, because June 15th, Cindy and Kaylee were up in, I believe, Mountain Door somewhere, visiting Cindy's father in the nursing home. Starting at this point, when the prosecution is bringing up the points where she's lied in her written statement, Casey is staring straight ahead when the state reads her written statement, because the beginning of it, just, that's kind of like, because she knows she's getting caught in a lie. As well, Cindy, then they panned over to a shot of Cindy, and she has her head down, and George is straight ahead. For the record, they turned the table, excuse me, they turned the table around. If you could picture the courtroom in your mind, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and do this for you guys. I want to quickly just point out this point, because this is kind of where I'm going. You have the gallery. So picture this. I don't know if y'all can see it. Oh, there we go. I could actually do it in a different color. Let me do it darker for you folks, so you can, I kind of want to show you what I'm talking about. You can picture this as like the gallery, in like, this would be the middle aisle here, and I want you to picture this as, okay, here's the state side. Here's where the defense would be, but this is actually where they are. Okay, so this is the state side, okay, and this is where the defense would normally be, but they have actually turned the table around because there's a wall back here, and the defense is actually sitting here. So this technically over here would be the defense side. They said they were worried about people reading notes and this, that, and the next thing. Come on, give me a break. But actually, and there's a few rows here, okay, and there's many rows. And George and Cindy Anthony are actually on the state side, and they're actually back here in the back. They're pretty far back. I think they're about actually in that last row or second to last row. I'm not quite sure. But I just wanted to point that out to you guys so you know what I'm talking about. Moving on. Then the state starts talking about how Casey doesn't work at Universal, or people she said works there do not. She talks about how the investigators took Casey to Universal and was denied access because she didn't have her pass, and she's like, oh, I forgot it, I don't have it. And then they said, well, they didn't have her on a list saying she worked there, but they allowed them to go in anyways, and I think it was because of the detectives there. They talked to them. And they said, the prosecution said she's walking with a purpose. Walking with a purpose in through the administration building. Then they said she puts her hands in her back pocket and says, I don't work here. And then they pan back over to Cindy Anthony, and it looks like she's taking notes. She's got her glasses on, and it looks like she's taking notes. I don't know, she could be playing a crossword puzzle, but I believe she's taking notes, which that should not be allowed. That judge should not allow them to be taking notes because she is a witness. I'm sorry, yes, one thing is allowing them in there. Allowing her to take notes is another thing. Okay, then they talked about how the cadaver dog hit on the trunk and hit on Kaylee's playhouse in the Anthony home. They brought in another cadaver dog who also hit on Kaylee's playhouse. Very, very, very important. Okay, then she moves on to March 17th to March 21st of 2008. And when they pulled the searches from their Anthony's desktop computer hard drive, it says there's Google searches were done on chloroform, shovel, how to make chloroform, self-defense, neck breaking, and they said that would show that no one else could have made those searches but Casey Anthony herself, because one day Cindy was at work, and then the other day they know that George was at work, and they were all very similar searches. And Casey shakes her head no, and then it looks like she says, no, I didn't make those searches. That's the impression I'm getting. And that's where we are, and the prosecution has said that's all they have for their opening statements, and thank you for the jury's time. And then they're doing a lunch recess until I believe he said 1:10. So this is where we'll hear the famous, we're going to answer 3 years of questions in the first 3 minutes. Okay, Baez. So, stay tuned. This is just my first video. I will do another video probably at the end of the day. If I don't get a chance to before I have to leave, I will do it when I come back of the second half of the trial. Stay tuned.